Solo: A Star Wars Story was jam-packed full of new information and cool little references to both the current and old lore. In this video, we'll go through 20 fun but random facts that I found interesting and could provide further insight for anyone looking to expand their lore knowledge. That and plus explain some things that weren't really explained in the movie but were present anyway. Enfys Nest, the leader of the Cloud Rider gang, wears a distinct helmet that features an ancient Arabish inscribed on it. This particular Arabish is actually a poetry extract which reads, "Until we reach the last edge, the last opening, the last star, and can go no higher." We see the Decraniated aboard Dryden Voss's ship, serving as the waitstaff. The Decraniated were actually created by Dr. Evazan, where he took a wounded or knocked out person and basically removed their personality and replaced it with cybernetics, essentially making them droid-like slaves that he sold around the galaxy. They first appeared in Rogue One and now made their second cinematic appearance in Solo. Lady Proxima and Moloch are members of the species called the Grinelid, whose homeworld is known to have a dense atmosphere that filters out most light. This of course means that Corellia's sunlight is dangerous to them and requires they wear protection if they need to leave their base during the day. Saravine may be a bleak desert planet, but it's well known throughout the galaxy for its popular brand of brandy, which remains as the planet's most well-known export. During the movie, Tobias Beckett makes a mention of this when he orders a glass of brandy from the Saravian bartender. One of the characters in the spaceport is called Hargic, who's described as a blob-like Ugor contained in a humanoid spacesuit. And yes, this does mean something, as the Ugor were a Legends-only race, that thanks to Solo have now been canonized. They're best known as being the alien race that had an affinity for garbage and thus suffered galaxy-wide discrimination for it. The new two-podded TIE that we see attack the Millennium Falcon during the Kessel Run is called the TIE RB, or TIE Brute, featuring heavier armor and firepower than the regular TIE fighters. Some fleet admirals were wary of them due to feeling that they undercut the strategic importance of having larger support ships. Mimban is located in the Serkopos sector, and following a decree by Grand Moff Tarkin, the regional governor Moff bin Asada demanded that all resources be stripped from the bountiful Mimban, whilst he runs the war from the comfort of his offices on the administrative world of Gaidine. And of course, Gaidine is a planet that first appeared in Legends, specifically in the Splinter of the Mind's Eye novel. The Mimbanese are led by Isanto, who was trained by the clone troopers during the Clone Wars and given weapons by the Galactic Republic during the conflict, which they now continue to use against the Empire. Rio Durant, a pilot in Beckett's crew, was actually a veteran of the Clone Wars, which he was a part of the Freedom Sons, an independent army that assisted the Republic in its battle against the Separatists. Unfortunately, the Freedom Sons never paid a pension, which is why Rio turned to working for Beckett in order to make a living and make use of his military skills. The immigration officers at the spaceport were actually local Corellian civilians that were simply granted training, equipment, and uniforms that allowed them to order their neighbors around in the name of the Empire, which also makes sense why they were easy targets to bribe as well. The planet Vandor that the train heist takes place in was named by its original mappers as a nod to an ancient poem about exploration, and as the time of Solo, the Empire only has a small presence on Vandor, which explains why it's still a popular destination for smugglers to stop by for a quick game of sabacc. Despite Tobias Beckett being a human, his homeworld was actually Glee Anselm, located in the galaxy's midrim and homeworld to the Natalan species, which the well-known and skilled Jedi Kit Fisto was a part of. Coaxium, also known as hyperfuel, is a form of hypermatter, a precious substance that bridges the dimensions of real space and hyperspace. As such, it is extremely valuable and often sought by many in the galaxy. One of the Cloud Riders, Baruch Palk, wears a traditional Ubiz tracking helmet crested with Buthasian feathers. And of course, the Ubis was the race that the bounty hunter Bausch belonged to, which Leia disguised herself as to get into Jabba's palace. Dryden Voss's elegant ship is actually a Kael'valian star yacht that is called the First Light. The ship was manufactured on the planet Kael'valia that is located within the Mandalore system, and was the homeworld of Duchess Satine from the Clone Wars. Imperial patrol troopers were the local defense forces and police that patrolled the streets of Corellia. They shared several similarities to that of the Scout Troopers, which were the wilderness-based counterparts of these urban specialized units. At the lodge where Han Solo first plays Lando in a game of sabacc, there's a Chakru smuggler there called Trega, who comes from Oslumpix 5, a planet referenced in the Legends novel Han Solo's Revenge. In Lando's Calrissian Chronicles, he's recounted and exaggerated his adventures in the Rafa system in a caper involving the Mine Harp of Sharu. Calrissian estimates that he's got at least a trilogy in him, but you'll see how the first one sells. This is a nod to the Lando Adventures novel trilogy in Legends, which contains Lando Calrissian in the Mine Harp of Sharu, the Flame Wind of Ocean, and the Star Cave of Thon Baka. Among the prisoner rebellion on Kessel, there's a Gigaran present called Senna, and while similar, should not be confused with the other Gigaran Maroth from Rogue One. However, Senna was the original name for Maroth before it later got changed in production. Weasel, who we see in The Phantom Menace, is known to have previously worked with the Hutt Gang on Tatooine, but at the time of Solo, he now travels and works for the Cloud Rider gang, and being part of the Cloud Riders that end up tracking Beckett's crew to Saraveen. But that'll do it for today. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more Solo content that we'll be covering for this week. This is Zen7 from Silo, signing off.